So, so congratulations for coming. That's good. That's very good, because this meditation is so important for our happiness and well-being. The happiness that we experience in life is coming from our minds and from our hearts. This is inside. Most people are looking for happiness from outside, but in actual fact, really the happiness that we experience in all the things outside of us is coming from here, coming from inside. So it's very important to develop the mind, develop the heart in good qualities that bring happiness to the mind. And then our experience of life will be of a similar nature. It'll be happy, we'll be content wherever we are. Oftentimes people can be quite well off, quite comfortable, living in the dream home perhaps, but experiencing misery or unhappiness in that home, even though very comfortable, very beautiful environment. And I always encourage people to not build the dream home outside, build the dream home inside. And I call this interior decoration. And this is the mind and the heart. This is the real things that can improve the quality of our lives here and now, not only our lives, the people around us too. They will experience it too if we are happy, if we're content, if we've got a joyful frame of mind. And they will appreciate that. They will feel it. So this is something that's very useful for here and now. And of course, in the Buddha's teachings, we talk about being reborn, the next life. Obviously, the Buddha's teachings aiming at ending rebirth, but for most people, we'll go on to a new life. And what we take is really what we've developed in this life, in our minds, in our hearts. The good qualities, but also the negative qualities. So the more good qualities we develop here and now, we get the benefit of it here and now, and also in the future when we take our rebirth, when we go to a new life. And that new life will be very much in tune with the qualities we have developed. So I always emphasize these good qualities, to develop them, to support the meditation, to make the meditation object more interesting. Usually in Buddhism we use the breath, and for most people, when they're experiencing the breath, they think, big deal, the breath coming in and going out. They don't appreciate it at all, probably. They don't until we only appreciate it, isn't it, when it's gone, when we're having difficulty breathing, when we have asthma, when we have emphysema or any of these things, then we really appreciate it. But this breath is very important for us. But as a meditation object, it's very useful because the breath is a physical experience, isn't it? Breathing in, breathing out. But it can change over to a mental experience. And this is what the Buddha's teaching is, why the Buddha used breath meditation a lot. Starts out as physical, and then you see, for instance, when he's teaching breath meditation, that it becomes this joy and happiness, becomes the focus with the breathing. Then the mind coming together and the experience of this really radiant mind. And then after that meditation, then using the peace and the purity of a mind like that to investigate the nature of reality. And this is developing the wisdom about the world we live in, the world we're all experiencing, but not necessarily understanding that world. And of course, whenever we understand something, that is a great relief, a great happiness actually, when we really know what's going on in the world. So this evening I was going to focus on one of the emotions that's very, very useful to use it with the breath, and that is gratitude. And gratitude is something that's so, so useful for us. And I think we cannot overemphasize it. It's free happiness. You know, people say to me quite often, they say, oh, I did this for this person, I said this nice thing, I went out of my way for them, and They didn't even say thank you. And of course, I say to them, well, you know what? They're missing out on happiness, being grateful, appreciating what others are doing for us, appreciating what we have in life, appreciating our relationships. The fact that we have food, we have clothing, that we have shelter, we have a home, we have medicines too. All these things are so we can take for granted very easily. So it's important to develop this sort of gratitude. Is really a wonderful way to experience life, with this sort of more this thank you attitude to whatever we're experiencing. I know it's not always possible to be grateful for what we're experiencing when it's difficult. That's very hard. But I will give a story that deals with that, actually. So I think everybody knows what gratitude feels like. Anyone here not aware of what gratitude feels like? What it feels like to be thankful? I think on occasions there's always occasions when we are thankful. Everybody comfortable with the heat here? Is it too hot? I think if we do a survey, we'll get some too hot, too cold, all the possibilities actually. As long as it's not too hot, it's definitely not too cold. So, of course, gratitude is this warm emotion. It's a great emotion. The Buddha calls it katanyuta. And he says there are two people that are rare in the world. One that has gratitude for the things that have done for them. And the other one is a person who does things without being asked. Hopefully what we want. Sometimes that's not the case. And he calls this gratitude actually a great blessing. And it's amongst, there's a sutta, a teaching of the Buddha, that has 37 blessings, and this is one of them. And it's a great one. It's actually teamed up with very nice emotions. First of all, respect, humility, contentment, and gratitude. And they're all sort of related emotions, actually. So these are very positive emotions that we can develop in the mind. And of course, when we focus on them, when we develop them in the meditation, they can become part of our life so that we can take them into our daily life. So it's being grateful for what we have received from life, from others, from all the situations we find in. And this evening I'm going to use the theme that I've done before, that I really like, so lucky. So lucky, like a mantra really. This is the theme, so lucky. And to use that in the meditation with the breath. As I say, it makes it easier to stay with the breath, and because many people find that quite difficult to do. So this so lucky is very useful. And there are other words for it too. And counting our blessings, you heard of that one? Counting our blessings. A very old-fashioned phrase. And of course, when we are thankful, it reduces that critical mind that sees fault with everything, sees fault with ourselves, sees fault with all those people in our lives, things in our life, our situations in our life. So it's very, very useful for dealing with the complaining mind, to bring more balance to the mind, because the mind we're very much used to. It's a habit really to look for how we can improve things, look at the shortcomings in our life and try to improve them all the time, instead of looking at the positives in our lives. So it brings balance to our minds. And of course we can take things for granted very easily, and that can be the people in our lives, our relationships. It can be anything really that we can take for granted, and we don't really appreciate them. But as soon as we are parted from those things, either that person or that situation finishes, we lose that job or whatever, then we start to appreciate them. Or if they die, if a person dies, we can really start to appreciate them then. Because yesterday I was doing a memorial service and somebody said to me, we live life as if it's permanent. So, and that's very true, actually. And when we live life as if it's very permanent, we can take a lot for granted. But if we live life knowing that there is an end point, and we don't know when that will happen, actually. So this can give us a lot more gratitude for the things and the people and the things in our lives. And so this is something very, very useful. And as I say, sometimes I encourage people to imagine, that they're those people that are dear to them, those situations that are dear to them, are no longer there. Either they've gone away a holiday, or they've gone to work in another country, or they've died, and that sort of parting. And then it brings up this sense of, well, it can probably bring up a sense of fear, actually, but it can make us lose that sense of taking for granted. So very, very useful. And so that, as I mentioned, the Buddha, yes, so we can be grateful. And sometimes people think, well, what's there to be grateful for? And there's so much to be grateful for, as I mentioned before. The physical things in our life, the relationships, the social conditions we are in, the work opportunities we have, all those things. But particularly, very important is the spiritual teaching, or spiritual teaching, spiritual teachers, and spiritual friends. Very helpful, and it adds meaning to our lives. It means it's something that's very important for the way we see life, the world. And of course for the Buddhists, of course that's the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha, but it's also our spiritual teachers and the people that we hang out with when we're practicing that spiritual teaching together. And this can be very, 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 very supportive for us, like meditating together, actually. So these are things that we can be grateful for. And, of course, one of the things that is very, very useful with gratitude is that it leads to a sense of contentment. When we're grateful, we appreciate what we have. And so then we can be content with what we have. Most of the time, we're not content. We want to get more. And when we're not content, Ajahn Brahm says this, then we can't appreciate what we already have. Isn't that the case? When we want more, we don't appreciate. We're not grateful for what we have. But if we're grateful for what we have, it can actually lead to this contentment. So we don't have to get so much, don't have to want so much. And Ajahn Brahm calls contentment, of course, the fast track to enlightenment. Why is that? It's a very still, happy sense in the mind, in the heart. And this is very useful for meditation, because the Buddha says that when the mind comes together, the condition for the mind coming together, one-pointed, going into deep meditation, is happiness. It's got to be this deep happiness that's still, this deep sort of contentment that's still. So the mind is very peaceful, happy, and then these states of mind can develop, these deep meditations. So it's free happiness, that's what I say, free happiness. And there's a nice story that I like to tell. This is one of the stories that I love about gratitude. And it's a way, actually, it's very helpful, gratitude, when we're having a tough time, because then we can bring up some happiness, a different way of looking at what we're experiencing, remembering that there's more in our lives than just this situation that's causing us grief at the moment. And this is a story about Nasruddin. I often tell these stories about Nasruddin. And he was a Sufi teacher in, I think they say in Turkey, in the 1200s or 1300s. So he was very, very funny sort of a teacher, actually. And so in this story about Nasruddin, he had a donkey. Nasruddin had a donkey. And he used to, of course, the donkey was very dear to him, because like a friend, a confidant. And also it was great for transport. You can get from A to B. And he could also carry goods on the donkey as well. And then one day, the donkey went missing. It went off into the forest or the desert, whatever it was, in Turkey, probably forest. And the villagers knew how precious that, how important that donkey was. And so they went and searched for the donkey, high and low, as they say, everywhere. And they couldn't find the donkey. And it went on for the whole day. And then eventually they came back to Nissarano and they said, Nissarano, the donkey's gone for good. We can't find the donkey at all. It's definitely gone. And then that evening they heard this sound coming from the town square, shouting out, thank you, thank you, thank you. And they recognised that it was Nissarano's voice, and they thought, oh, he's gone mad. He's so upset, he's gone mad. And so they came out and they said to Nissarano, what are you so thankful for? And he says, I'm so thankful that I wasn't on that donkey when it disappeared. I thought, wow, that's positive thinking, isn't it, really? Amazing positive thinking. So this is a way we can deal with these difficult situations, even with a sense of humour, actually, I think. And of course, this gratitude, this is also very good for meditation because it reduces the negative qualities in our minds which block meditation. And the Buddha often talked about the 5 hindrances. When we have a lot of desires in the mind, we have ill will in the mind, when we have drowsiness and dullness, when we have restlessness and worry, and when we have doubt. Those are the 5, but there are more than that. I think most meditators probably have experienced a few more than that. And so these positive emotions like gratitude can overcome those negative states of mind so that the mind is ready to meditate, and it can lead to the mind coming together in these deep meditations. So I think that's a bit more than a short introduction. I always go over a bit. So now we can try it out with the breath, and I can give a guided meditation with the breath using gratitude. And this will be about, about 45 minutes around there, just after 8:30. And now we can close the eyes if we wish and come into the present moment. It's the only moment we really have, actually. The past and the future are like projections, but they are projections that give rise to a lot of turmoil for us, can give rise to a lot of turmoil. The past is history, and the future is a mystery. And here in the present moment, there's nowhere we have to go and nothing we have to do at this time. And we can check out in the present moment how the body is and make any adjustments to make it more comfortable, more balanced. Just seeing what the body, what we need to do with the body, just so that it is, for the meditation, it can be, we don't need to keep changing our posture. And of course, a reasonably straight back doesn't have to be tense, but just reasonably straight is useful. And the next thing that's very important for meditation is relaxation. When the body relaxes, it takes the mind with it, actually. It will relax, provided we don't go into sleep. And so we can do a mental relaxation of the body. I call it a mental massage. And we can start with the head, the top of the head, the back and sides of the head, And give this warm, relaxing, soothing attention to the head, the top, the back of the head, and the sides of the head. And now we can move the attention down to the forehead and the face, all around the face, the eyes and the mouth, soothing and relaxing the face. It gets a lot of work during the day, especially the mouth, the eyes. Allowing the forehead to relax, the whole of the face. And now moving our attention to the neck, all around the neck, and soothing that, giving the neck this mental massage, relaxing any tension, any tightness, any discomfort. Now moving the attention to the right shoulder, starting at the neck and moving our attention along the right shoulder, giving it a very good mental massage to relax any tensions, any soreness in the right shoulder. Now bringing to mind the right arm, starting at the top of the arm and moving our attention down the arm, all around it, right down to the hand and the fingers, soothing the right arm, relaxing it, giving this warm, kind, healing attention to the right arm. Now bringing to mind the left shoulder, starting at the neck and moving our attention along the left shoulder, soothing it, relaxing it, easing any tension in the left shoulder. And now bringing to mind the left arm, from the top of the left arm right down to the tips of the fingers, all around the left arm, soothing, relaxing with this warm, kind, mental massage, allowing it to really relax. And now I'm bringing to mind the back, starting just below the shoulders and moving our attention down the back, soothing, relaxing, giving the back a mental massage, allowing any tension, any soreness to dissolve as much as possible. And now bringing to mind the front of the body, starting just below the shoulders and moving our attention down the front of the body, relaxing, soothing, being kind to whatever we experience, relaxing any soreness, any pressure in the front of the body, like a mental massage. And now I'm bringing to mind the right leg, starting at the top of the right leg, moving our attention down the right leg, including the knee, the ankle, foot and toes, soothing them, soothing the right leg, giving it this warm, relaxing mental massage. Now bringing to mind the left leg, starting at the top of the left leg and moving the attention down the left leg, all around it, to include the knee, ankle, foot and toes, relaxing them, soothing them with this mental massage. And now we can bring to mind the whole body sitting here in the present moment, hopefully comfortably relaxed, soothed, at peace. And now we can bring to mind those things, those people and things in our lives that we feel we're so lucky to have in our lives. Really lucky. Those things that we can really appreciate in our lives, our relationships, our partners, our relationships, perhaps children, homes, all these things that often we take for granted, and we can realize, wow, I'm so lucky. So lucky to have reasonable health, a body that works, and a mind that's in reasonable health too. So lucky. And we can bring to mind that we're so lucky to come in contact with spiritual teachings such as Buddhism, and to have spiritual teachers and spiritual friends or companions, so that we can go deeper into life, find meaning and purpose in life, investigate life, and to live a good life. We're so lucky to come across a spiritual teaching that really speaks to us. And we're so lucky to have a teaching which guides us in meditation, developing the mind, developing the heart. So lucky to have something like that, to work to develop the mind, to develop the heart in good qualities, in peace and wisdom. So lucky to have this opportunity to meditate together. It's very supportive when we meditate together. It can go deeper, more peaceful. So lucky. And we're so lucky to have a meditation object like the breath, coming in and going out. And we can give this feeling of being so lucky to the breath as it's coming in and going out. A warm sense of satisfaction, contentment, gratitude, of thankfulness as the breath comes in and goes out. And we can, as we breathe in, we can breathe in so lucky, like a mantra, and to breathe out so lucky, like a mantra, with the feeling. We can have the feeling and the words with the breath coming in and the breath going out. Breathing in, so lucky, and breathing out, so lucky. Noticing the qualities of the breath as we breathe in and out, that it's soft, or it's short, or it's long, it's warm or it's cool. Just noticing how it is when we breathe in and out, so lucky. And if the mind wanders off, we can just remember, so lucky, and come back to the in-breath and the out-breath. And now, as we're coming towards the end of the meditation, we can offer these feelings that have come up for us in the meditation. This feeling of being so lucky, feeling of gratitude, a sense of satisfaction, contentment, of peace maybe, and stillness in the mind. And we can offer these to those spiritual teachings, those spiritual teachers and our spiritual friends as well. Share it with them, this warm feeling of being so lucky, content, appreciative, and of thanks for all we've received from them. And we can share the feelings of the meditation, these feelings of being so lucky, contentment, peace, stillness, with everyone here and for those who are participating online. May they be filled with this warm contentment, gratitude, the sense of satisfaction, coming to peace, sense of connection and appreciation. And we can expand this feeling, the sharing of this feeling outside this building with all the beings that exist around this hall, this area, this sense of, this feeling of being so lucky, this warmth, contentment, appreciation. And we can keep radiating that feeling further and further in circles around ourselves, wherever we are. Sharing these feelings of gratitude, of thanks. For the happiness and well-being of all the beings, human beings, animals, insects, invisible beings, all beings, wherever they are. And we can come back to ourselves and develop the aspiration, have an aspiration to use more, to develop more this feeling of being so lucky, of gratitude, of thankfulness in our lives, so that it balances the mind. It brings happiness to us, brings appreciation of all those people and things we are connected to. So this gratitude, we can share the feeling of gratitude with all those that we encounter in our lives. And it can affect the way we act and the way we speak, coming from this feeling of gratitude, of happiness. And we can anchor this feeling of gratitude, of being so lucky, in the heart. And whenever we return to that feeling, we can remember it and bring it up anywhere, anytime. And now we can review the meditation just to check up how it was for us. Do we feel any different from before? Do we notice any more peace, more gratitude, more contentment? Whatever feelings came up for us, more stillness in the mind, or not. And we can also look at what caused these feelings that we experienced to come up. And we can reflect too on, did we notice that when we felt so lucky, that this sense of wanting, needing other things, needing more, wanting more, reduces. And we're just content, at peace, happy to be here. Now I'll ring the bell 3 times, and on the 3rd time, if you wish to, you can come out of the meditation.
So we'll go to Q&A. First, we'll start with the audience here in the hall, and then we'll just alternate between the physical audience and the one online. So, is there any questions in the hall?
It doesn't have to be about gratitude, but it can be about any aspect of meditation. So there we are.
Hi, John.
Yes.
Just a question. When we're meditating, sometimes generating piti, can be a bit challenging.
Sorry, what can?
Generating piti, P-I-T-I,
PIT.
can be a bit challenging. Do you have any practical advice on how to generate it?
Oh, deal with piety?
Yeah.
Oh, piety.
Yeah.
Oh, right. For those who don't know what piety is like joy, and so it's a very positive emotion, and it's a good sign in meditation when the breath, for instance, you can use many different meditation techniques or objects when it's changing from a physical into a mental experience. However, piety, this feeling of joy, sometimes called rapture, can be, especially when it's first experienced, can be very strong. It can be really like big waves going through the body. I don't know if you're experiencing something like that. And that can be very, it can take a lot of the attention. It's not so peaceful. And then gradually, it can become more and more peaceful and more calm. And then sort of combine with this deeper feeling of happiness. So this feeling of piety, it can be a very, as I say, very strong, especially when it's first experienced. And it can be big waves through the body, it can be tingling in the body, it can be a feeling of uplift. There's stories of people who levitate using this feeling of piety. There's a story in the Visuddhimagga that some people will be aware of when this girl who didn't go to the temple, she could see this very big stupa, this big pagoda, you might call it, in the distance where the family had gone, but she didn't go for some reason. And she just saw this in the full moon and then got this piety, and then evidently levitated and went there. This is a story. So it can be but it's a good sign. It's a good sign because, you know, when one experiences this, it feels quite physical to begin with, quite a physical experience. But you know that it isn't really, because you don't have this experience usually in daily life. Do you have it in daily life a lot? No, it's only when we meditate that this experience starts to come up. And this is a sign that the mind is coming together. When the mind starts, why we use a meditation object is it allows the mind to let go of other things. And the meditation object's in the present. But that activity of the mind coming together actually brings up piety, this joy, and also happiness as well, and leads to the deeper meditations. What takes the mind into deep meditation is this joy and happiness, but the joy has to settle somewhat, become more peaceful joy, more peaceful rapture, and also this deeper sense of happiness too. So this is, I think it's a good sign. It's a good sign that the meditation is working, and that the nature of the mind focusing like that brings up these qualities. And these piety is one of the things that leads on to deep meditation for sure. And so it's very helpful. Do you find it disturbing or?
Not so much. It's just sometimes it's difficult to generate.
Difficult to generate.
Yeah,
I thought you might be having too much.
Well, I mean, sometimes yes, but sometimes it's difficult to generate.
Difficult to generate, yes. You know, I think this is more common experience actually, that people to bring up that piety, and this is why, you know, developing these positive emotions like we're doing, focusing on gratitude, being the feeling of being so lucky is useful. But the Buddha teaches a lot of things that bring up inspiration, and inspiration leads to usually we say pamuja, like a sense of gladness, and then on to piety. So it's really anything that will inspire us. And the Buddha usually teaches that we can focus on the Buddha, the qualities of the Buddha, the qualities of the Dhamma, the qualities of the Sangha, but also the qualities, our good qualities, the virtues that we have, you know, the fact that we have morality or ethical behaviour, and really feeling how this is so important. It's so wonderful to have, and that brings up inspiration, then this gladness, and then this piety, this rapture or joy or delight, then tranquility of the body and the mind. This is another phase of meditation where the body and the mind become very, very peaceful. We lose awareness of the body because we're going inside the mind. And then from that, happiness arises. And then the mind comes together and goes into deep meditation. So you're on the way. But to bring up that piety, that joy, that rapture, we really need to feel inspiration. Inspiration can help that, can really kickstart it. So I think for most people that's the difficulty, because we need more joy in the meditation. That's the point. And that's why these positive emotions, things like loving kindness, or sometimes we can call it friendliness, that's an emotion that can be very useful to generate, and a very positive one, and it can bring up this joy in the mind, as can the Buddha taught the compassion, joy with others' success. I call that happy for you. And, it's happy for you in the sense that maybe they've had great success, maybe they've got such good qualities too. And that can really inspire us when we see somebody who's really got good qualities. They're so kind, they're so generous, they're so, considerate, peaceful, all these things. And then also equanimity too, we call it, that sense of acceptance, that sense of balance in the mind, that can allow for the fact that things are as they are, and accept them like that with this sort of sense of loving kindness in it as well. There we are, I think.
Blue Astra, somebody? Can't get out.
Oh, all right. What is it? What sort of vehicle?
Blue Astra.
Oh, blue Astra. If there's somebody in a...
Yeah.
Oh, right.
No, it said Astra Holden, I think.
Astra, I think. This is not a meditation question. Oh, right. Does anybody have a blue car? I have a blue car. Oh, right. Is it in the car park?
Two-door, I think. It's a two-door.
Yeah, you want to have a look? All right, I can continue it. There we are. Thank you. See you, Paul. There we are. It's these things happen in samsara. So anyway, I hope that is useful. Bringing up joy, inspiration, that's our job really in meditation. Otherwise, the meditation can be a bit flat and it won't, it feels like we're going through the motions. But if we have got that joy in the mind, that rapture, then it's very interesting, and it really will absorb us, and so the attention will go to it. And as I say, that goes into deep meditation then, when that happens. So yeah, I hope that helps.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's good. We do need in life more joy, more happiness, but particularly and also in meditation. And when we do develop in meditation, when we develop these qualities, we take them into our daily life. Because the Buddha says, we don't just develop metta or maitri on the cushion, we develop it through our speech and through our action too. So this is very important for us. So we take it into our lives. There we are. Did they discover who the blue car belongs to? Everybody with the blue cars out there. There we are. So are there any other questions or comments, complaints that people have? No? Yeah. Oh, there we are. Usually we alternate between the hall and the online questions. There's always more online questions, and which is Probably because they're not here, and when we are here, it's much more. Do you want to have a look? Oh, all right, there we are. Yeah. Can you see any? What? Can you see it in the online chat or whatever it is? Oh, here we are, Sri Judith. Was it your car, Sri Judith?
It wasn't, it actually parked in a...
No worries. This is life.
Okay, Ajahn, this is
Yep.
it's a bit of a fragmented question, so you'll have to
All right.
you'll have to actually bear with me on this one, okay?
Oh, all right.
So, is it possible for someone to do samatha and vipassana in one meditation session? If one is doing anapanasati for a certain time, then the body started to feel other sensations such as numb.
Yeah.
Then the focus shifted to numb feeling, observed the phenomena for a while until back to the breath as the primary object. Later there is a process, the primary objects weaken, the thoughts take over.
Oh,
It doesn't take a long time until you get acknowledged it is a sensation and get back to the breath. How suppose I call this meditation experience? Am I doing samatha or vipassana or both at one time?
Right. Well, this is a description of really Mahasi Sayadaw's meditation technique, actually, which is the idea that you have the primary meditation object is the breath, but because we can have other objects of meditation that the Buddha mentions, like our feelings, whether it's pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral, and we can have other objects like the mind, the state of the mind. If the mind is angry, or if there is ill will in the mind, or if there's desire in the mind, if the mind is really lacking in energy, so it's really dull, these are all hindrances really, but sometimes can be aware that the mind is very bright or it is very focused, that it's got this quality. And then the fourth aspect of what we call satipatthana meditation is looking at experience from the perspective of Dhamma. These are the teachings of the Buddha. So it is possible to do that, and I quite like that at times. It's very natural. And we use the breath as the anchor. That's the usual one. We can use the body as an anchor and come back to that. But we can be aware of these other objects, but they're secondary objects, and then come back to the breath. And so in that way, it is a bit like they're all really aiming to calm the mind down, but to recognising what's going on, particularly the thinking, that's quite common for us to notice as well. And that's part of a really chittanupassana, the awareness or mindfulness of the mind, what the mind is doing. So this is a technique that, in a way, it's good because oftentimes when we have a meditation object just like the breath, we think, well, I have to just pay attention to the breath. And then we get sort of a bit negative if thinking happens, or if painful feelings, numbness, or this is the example the person used, comes up. But in actual fact, with this technique, you can just, it's another meditation object, just a secondary meditation object, not the main one, and then come back. So in a way, it doesn't cause so much disturbance. Whereas, if people get a lot of thinking, they think, I wasn't meditating at all. I can't remember if I was with the breath or not, And so this is one of the meditation techniques. I sometimes use it too. And it's quite good for accepting whatever we were experiencing in the meditation and not pushing it away. Because when we think, we've only got to stay with the breath, everything else becomes an obstacle, then we can develop a negative mind, that's trying to resist these other things. Whereas this includes everything in our experience. So it's quite I think it's okay, yeah. And whether it's vipassana or tend, whether we're getting wisdom from it, insight from it, or whether it's calming things down. The breath tends to calm things down, but some of these other things can actually calm the mind as well. So, yeah. So it's, no problem. So good.
Is there one on the floor? Second one on the floor?
Anyone got any other comments, complaints, questions? It's too long, it's too cold, it's too hot, it's too late.
There's a second question here online, Ajahn.
All right.
So the question is, what guidance could you give to dealing with loved one who is repeatedly overindulging in intoxicants despite of their awareness of it and sorrow for the hurt that it causes?
Oh, right. Yes. This is, when a person becomes addicted to various things. There are degrees of addiction, of course, and then they're not really in control. What's running things is the addiction, actually. And I think this is something that anyone that's had experience with addiction, they can recognise that they know it's not good for me, it's not good for my relationships, the family or whatever, but they can't resist it because it's a really strong habit. Addiction is like, for me anyway, I think it is a very strong habit that we've developed. And because it's part of the mind, then it's very hard for that person to say no to it. They know it's unhealthy, it's not good for my relationships and all that, but they cannot go against that. So one of the good ways to reduce that impact actually is to find other avenues that it can be expressed through. Find something that is of interest, find something that is enjoyable, that we can replace the addiction with, or reduce it. Of course, overnight can't change it. There's a very often mentioned this one, Ajahn Brahm, one of our teachers, he mentions we are like these super tankers, these ships that are evidently 500,000 tons, and they're full of oil, and for them to change course even slightly takes kilometres, because they've got that momentum of going in one direction. We're the same. It's very hard for us to change our habits. So for this person to change their habits, it's very good, to have something else that they can steer towards, but also, I think the support of others that are trying to overcome addiction is very good. So these 10-step programs that they have for alcoholism and for drug addiction and things like this, very helpful because you've got these other people. One of the big supports for addiction is the company we keep, and the Buddha talks about this very, very often. So often the people we hang out with will support that addiction. And that's the big part of overcoming addiction, is very difficult when all your friends are doing it. And it's very hard to go against that. But if you have a group of people who are also moving away from addiction, they can support each other. And it avoids these friends who are really encouraging it in one way or another. Also, of course, with addiction, we should look at what the deeper cause is. There may be a deeper cause, mightn't there? Because it's a search for happiness, but it's also often a search for a way to not face up to our problems and difficulties which we may have. I mean, there are probably existing that tend to push us towards addiction. So I just say those few words, and then I would like to end up with a sharing of merits or dedication of merits, because somebody asked me to do this, and I think I was supposed to do it yesterday, but I'll do it tonight. And we can do it together, actually. For those who don't know what this is, the idea in Buddhism is you can dedicate any good actions, or good speech and good mind states, meditation's one of them, to those that have passed away for their happiness and well-being if they need that support. And also we have the idea of sharing merit, sharing this good karma with those that are going through difficulties in their life too, or are experiencing, birthdays, celebrations of those sorts. So it's sharing it with them, keeping them in mind. So I had a request for first of all, for the living, to share merit with them, and this was on the 29th of June, for a monk called Venerable Abhayaratna. He's a friend of mine. So this person who's requesting it is in Sri Lanka. And this monk, Venerable Abhayaratna, he's 75, and he's living in the forest still. I can't believe it. He's really good. It's very tough for him. I've talked to him about it. And also to dedicate merit on the 27th of June to Ajahn Brahm, one of the teachers here, his brother in Sri Lanka, Dr. I thought he was Professor actually, Gunadia Bandaragay, and that's Ajahn Braham's brother. It doesn't say how old he is this time. And on the 27th of June too is the 90th birthday of Mr. Kumar's uncle, Dr. De Silva, and so that's in Sri Lanka. And also the main purpose of dedication of merit to those that have passed away is to his wife, who passed away 5 years. And I knew her actually. I was there for the funeral, and I've been there for some of the death anniversaries each year. And her name was Mrs. Damdara. We called her Dummy. Dummy. Doesn't sound so good in English, but in Sinhala it sounds all right. I never thought of that actually. Mrs. Damdara, and she's helped with her husband to set up a place in Colombo in Sri Lanka where monks and nuns can stay when they are leaving the country, coming to get visas in the city in Colombo, or they've got health issues, that sort of thing. And he made a big donation in memory of her to the first Theravada Buddhist Bhikkhuni Monastery in New Zealand. Hamilton, I think it is, Hamilton. And it's also the 5th of June was the death anniversary of Mr. Kumar's grandfather, and the 15th of June was the death. And his grandfather lived to 94, amazing, and that was 1967 he passed away. It's wonderful when people come for their death anniversaries and I say, how long ago did they pass away? 35 years ago, 40. They're still remembering them and doing something good in their memory every year, usually offering food. And on the 15th of June, it was the death anniversary of Mr. Kumar's grandmother, who passed away in 1989 at 100 years old and 6 months. So their family has a lot of long life. And so I'll just do the chanting for those who've passed away. And you can bring to mind anyone who's passed away recently or in the past, obviously a while ago, that you'd like to remember. And I remember also a friend of mine, Stephanie Henderson, who passed away in Perth. She was 78 and she had dementia, and the funeral was today. I was going to watch it online, but my friend got the wrong time. Then he rang me and said, it's already happened. So I thought, well, that's it. So we can do that, and then we can do this one. I do it in English so you can understand it. This is for your family and friends who have passed away. May they be happy. This is for your family and friends who have passed away. May they be happy. This is for your family and friends who have passed away. May they be happy. And those that are living, and this is yourselves as well, may you abide in well-being, in freedom from affliction, in freedom from hostility, in freedom from ill will, in freedom from anxiety, and may you maintain well-being in yourselves. May everyone abide in well-being, in freedom from affliction, in freedom from hostility, in freedom from ill will, in freedom from anxiety, and may they maintain well-being in themselves. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So those are the dedications of merit and the sharing of merit from Mr. Kumar Punchiheva in Colombo. But always good, yeah. So thank you very much for participating tonight, and I hope you have got something from this theme of gratitude and being so lucky, and can use it in your lives. This is important for the balance of the mind, to make, to bring up more happiness, to bring up more joy in the mind. So now, for those who wish to, we can pay respects to the Buddha and Dhamma and the Sangha, where this all came from. That's it.